Hello, I am Mac, and it's time to get real. I've been struggling about whether or not to do this video and what exactly to do the video like, but things are getting so bad that I have to speak up. I have to say something. I hope I don't say this the wrong way, but I'm going to try and say it as best as I can. Right now, I am afraid that our country may be on the brink of civil war, and I don't blame this on the African American community. I don't blame it on police. I don't completely even blame it on the right or the left political groups. I mainly blame it on the media. I think what the media has been doing, and it's mainly because, well, it's many, many different factors, but largely because this is an election year. Um, the right wing and left wing leaning political medias have been, as they always usually do, um, basically pitting the country against each other, Democrats versus Republicans and everything. But this year is different because we've got this perfect storm of everything going on, the virus and now all this social unrest, which largely came out because people were restless, because there's unemployment, and we've got all this other pandemic stuff going on. Then people have been incited to violence on other issues. They have more time on their hands, and protesters have even admitted this. The only reason they've been protesting so much is because they have a bunch of free time, because they can't go out and do stuff, or they don't have a job, and so on. So it seems like a lot of this unrest has gotten a lot worse because of the virus. But regardless of that, we've got this perfect storm going on, and I'm gonna give my opinion on this, and I know some people may get mad about it. First of all, about what happened with George Floyd. That incident was a horrible tragedy. That incident should not have happened. George Floyd, whether he was committing a crime or not, did not deserve the treatment that he received, and the fact that he died like that. All of you know what I'm talking about at this point. But he was unarmed. He may have been struggling, but there was no reason for the policemen to pin him down and eventually suffocate him. They should have stopped. That was horrific, and those policemen are rightly so being charged with second-degree murder. So that's my feelings on that. And I was completely in support of the people that got upset about it. And really, it was a very unexpected thing. No one expected that video coming out would incite all the movement that it did, and it was very positive for a long time. What I noticed, and I said before, I've been watching both the right and left wing media. What I've noticed in the left wing media after the George Floyd incident, they have started putting up a lot more clips of African Americans being in brutal situations, not always with the police, really just anything. Like a while back, they put up a video of a young man that was in a children's home. He was a teenager in a children's home. He's African American, and he was treated very badly and ended up dying by the staff there. And I felt that the reason they put that video up, I'm seeing a growing trend where the left leaning media will say, "Oh, we warn you that this video may shock you. This video may be disturbing." They've been putting up a lot more of those videos of disturbing things happening to African Americans. I really believe that after the George Floyd thing happened, they are trying to incite more unrest, more protests, but it's getting out of control. It's getting worse and worse. And it's happening on social media too. People are showing on social media more and more things that incite people to anger over the mistreatment of African Americans in our country. And that is a big issue, and that is a big problem. However, people are trying to fan the flames more and more and more. And I am biologically related to and friends with people of color. I'm not at all I'm very much in support of them having better treatment in our country. But what's happening now is I'm afraid that things are really getting out of hand. And I don't just blame the left, because the right is also, both sides vilify each other and say that the other one is wrong. The right is saying, "Oh, look at all this looting that's going on and everything," and that now has incited right-leaning shooters that have actually killed people um, in these things as well. So it's absolutely horrible. What I say is we need to stop listening to the media and stop reacting in such anger. Yes, we can and should peacefully protest, but things are just getting so much worse and so much more violent. And it's because both the right and the left are so politically entrenched, and their medias are constantly showing us things that incite us to anger and emotions so that we're fighting each other more and more violently. I feel that it's going to end up being all out war, and it really scares me. And so more recently, the whole Jacob Blake thing, and this is the part where I'm really going to get in trouble, because I agree with a lot of the people that say that, not that it was justified for him to be shot that many times, but in the situation, people are just reacting to that situation with the same emotion, are equating it with what happened with George Floyd. It's not the same situation. From most accounts, Jacob Blake was sexually assaulting a woman that he had assaulted previously, and they were coming to save her, basically. Um, and he resisted arrest, and then he was going for a weapon in his car. What happened with George Floyd was unarmed. He was helpless against three other men, and yes, he was trying to resist them, but what they did was absolutely horrible, and they ended up murdering him. But with Jacob Blake, not only was he resisting arrest, but he was also going to get a weapon out of his vehicle, and he had said that it was a knife, but they didn't know that. It could have been a gun as well. But even so, policemen are trained, if an attacker has a bladed weapon, they have actual videos that they watch about bladed weapons. You have to shoot before they get close enough to you to attack you with the bladed weapon, because then it's too late. Um, I'm not saying they should have shot him in the back 7 times, but in that situation, the police are justified in opening fire in order to protect themselves and others when someone is going for a weapon. In fact, that's pretty much suicide. If the police have guns on you and are telling you to surrender, and you go for a weapon, that's how some people commit suicide. Like, if they want to die, they act like they're reaching for a weapon so the police will shoot them. Pretty much everyone knows if you go to get a weapon that the police are going to shoot you. So I have no idea what was going through Jacob Blake's head, but in that situation, he knew he was going to get shot. Or if he didn't realize it, I don't know why he wouldn't have. If you go for a weapon when the police have guns on you, they're going to shoot you. Um, but like I said, I'm not saying that amount of force is really justified. They shot him 7 times, and even though they shot him 7 times, he survived. He's still alive. He's maybe paralyzed in his legs for the rest of his life, but he survived that, which is really hard for me to believe. When I first heard about it, I immediately assumed that he was dead, and I think that some people are having a Mandela effect. The Mandela effect was where Nelson Mandela, everyone believed that he was dead because they saw a parade that was actually celebrating him being released from prison. But a lot of people assumed that he'd been murdered by the police in captivity. This was way back in the 80s, I think. And from then on, it was the Mandela effect, where there was like this mass hallucination, kind of, where millions of people in America thought that Nelson Mandela had died at that point in time, but he hadn't. It was just a big misunderstanding, and I think that's going on here. I think a lot of people actually think Jacob Blake died, and I did. I immediately thought, from all the news reports I was seeing about it, I was like, oh no, this is horrible, another person's been killed, but he's actually alive. and he's still in trouble for what he was doing, assaulting a woman. So anyway, the problem is that situation is very different, and people are reacting to it with the same or even more fervor than they did to George Floyd. And now it's at the point where any small thing can incite people to violence. It's snowballing to the point where all the media has to do is show anything with a bit of injustice towards people of color that it's going to make even worse things happen. And I think they're aware of this. They know, the left knows that the more unrest they make happen before the election in November, the less of a chance Trump will be elected. And I was going to tell this in another video, but I don't really care anymore. I don't care if Trump wins. I don't care if Joe Biden wins. I'm not going to vote this year. I'm not telling anybody that they shouldn't vote. But honestly, I don't care. It's picking between two idiots, neither of which are very qualified to run our country. I couldn't care less who wins. It's not important. And yet, they are inciting us to civil war over something that really doesn't matter. It's the difference of two old white idiots. Who cares who gets elected? The important is that we act with compassion and help each other and not attack and kill each other. We need to let go of this incredibly partisan attitude that we're getting, where we're so entrenched in the left or the right, whichever we are, that we're going to end up killing each other. And the worst case scenario is there ends up being a hostile takeover in our country, and either the left or the right gains supreme absolute control. And that's bad no matter what. If the extreme right takes over, then it's either way, it's authoritarian. You always end up with a dictator when there is no two-party system. That's why it's always been good that we've had a two-party system in America, because we keep a balance of power. But if civil war breaks out and one or other side wins, it's all over. We won't be a free country anymore. We'll either be fascist or we'll be communist, because there won't be any there won't be any free election anymore. And I hate to sound apocalyptic and doomsaying, but I really think that that's what may be on the line here. If we're getting to the point where everyone's radicalized by social media and by the media, and this perfect storm of a virus and now racial unrest and everything else, I'm really getting afraid that we're going to end up killing each other in the street, and I don't want that to happen. So please stop listening to the media, stop listening to the social media, stop getting angry about all this stuff. We can find a peaceful way to figure out the social problems in our country, but don't go out and hurt people, please. That's all I want to say, and probably hardly anyone will see this, and maybe someday someone will look back on this after America doesn't exist anymore and say, man, I wish we'd listened to this guy. But anyway, hopefully it won't be that bad. But anyway, I've been Mac. Stay safe, stay woke, and get real.